Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the April 11th board meeting for the Early Learning Board. We'll begin the meeting as we always do with one of our members sharing the mission with us. May, would you please share the mission?
Hi everyone. Okay, Early Learning Board mission to support children's academic and lifelong well-being by directing and supporting the EOEL for an effective, coordinated, high-quality early learning system from prenatal to kindergarten entry.
Thank you, May. We'll take a roll call of members in attendance to determine that we have a quorum. Selma?
Aye.
Erin?
Present.
Thank you. Katie Alani?
Eo aloha kako.
Thank you. Megan? Megan? Ben?
Present.
Thank you. May?
Here.
Stephanie?
Here.
Mari?
Here.
Carrie Yarosevich is absent. Dana Luca?
Here.
Rochelle Mahoy? Rochelle? Peter's here. Napua? Napua? Kim Gibb for Stephen Schatz.
Here.
Thank you. Matt Shim.
Here.
And Keiko is going to be stepping in for Matt as the meeting moves on. Let's go back up to check on Megan. Have you joined us? Megan McCorston? I still don't see her. We do have a quorum so that we can proceed with the meeting's agenda and take action where needed. The next item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes. The chair will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes as presented.
This is Lenny, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Hi, Brown. I second.
Thank you. Take a few minutes to review them, and then I'll ask if there's any discussion. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, we'll move to take a vote on the approval of the March minutes as presented. Selma?
Aye.
Thank you. Erin?
Aye.
Katie Alani?
Aye.
Thank you. Megan? Ben?
Aye.
Thank you. May?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Ari?
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes have been approved as presented. So we'll move to item number 3 on the agenda, which is there any public comment to be offered at the beginning of this meeting? A reminder that there is a 2-minute time limit and any comments have to be related to agenda items listed. Is there any public comment? Don't see any in the chat. So we will move on. There will be another opportunity for public comment before the meeting ends. The governance subcommittee has information with regard to board chair responsibilities and selections, and an action item for us to proceed with. So I'll turn it over to you, Matt, to lead us through that conversation.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Hi, everybody. Bob sent out a, well, first of all, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm on my hotspot and I'm in Ohio, so I want to make sure that we're all set here. I am going to share my screen. This is what Bob sent out. It reviews the Early Learning Board chair responsibilities. It also tells from Act 170 that the board shall select a chair by a majority vote of its voting members. In August of 2020, the board approved the chair responsibilities, which is the board chairperson shall call meetings of the board and shall preside at all meetings of the full board. The board chairperson shall delegate assignments and duties to other board members, manage all matters of the board, and perform such other duties as are incident to the office or are required by the board or by law. The chair is selected by a majority of its voting members every 3 years. So those are already, one is in statute, one is approved by the board. The next is what we're going to review and then vote on. We came up with a chairperson selection process. So the chair or convener of the governance subcommittee will manage the selection process, announces the chair or convener of the subcommittee, governance subcommittee announces the upcoming chair selection and defines a timeframe for nominations, collects nominations and determines interest of each nominee in serving as chair, submits names of those who accept the nomination to the board chair, and following the election process, tabulates the votes and announces the results. So the board chair plans the election as an agenda item and prepares written ballots for members to complete. The formal election is held at a board meeting via written ballot, and results are announced by the governance subcommittee chair or convener. Should there be a tie, a runoff of the 2 top nominees will be conducted at the next board meeting. And only those who are voting members are eligible to be considered as the chairperson. So Bob, I would like to make a motion to accept the chairperson selection process and eligibility for approval by the board.
Thank you, Matt. The motion has been made to accept the chairperson selection process and the eligibility requirements. Is there a second?
This is Lenny. I'll second.
Thank you. All right, the floor is now open for any discussion around the proposal.
Stephanie, go ahead.
From a process perspective, how does this work as new members come on to the board and we roll existing members off? So I think the question behind that question is, will there be a governance subcommittee chair when this process is being executed?
Yeah, the good thing is the current chair and governor of the convener of the governance subcommittee is me. I'm an ex officio as a designee for the Department of Health, so I will remain in my position. So there is a governance subcommittee. I believe Bob sent out information about those members who have been selected, appointed by the governor and submitted to by boards and commissions to the Senate for approval. Once those are approved by the Senate, those members all become standing members of the board. Is that correct, Bob?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so the two,
between now and the May meeting.
Yes, so at that time, if all of the except for our first two that are sitting in empty, that were sitting in empty vacant seats, as everyone else comes on board, there'll be a brand new board because everyone will come in at the same time, which means all other members from the previous board will step down. So once all the new board is in place, then we can have the current board chair, which is Bob, plan the election, and then I will assume my responsibilities to announce chair selection, collect nominations, etc. Does that help? Does that clear up all your questions? Okay, good. Thanks, Stephanie. Anyone else?
And just
Soma.
one more
Oh.
comment related to that, Matt, and that in our conversations with our Deputy Attorney General, we've determined that the current chair, despite a non-voting member any longer, can remain in that position until the new board is seated and the new chair is elected.
Yeah, that's to ensure that we have continuity and that there is also a supervisor for the executive director of the EOEL. Salma, go ahead. Thank you.
Thanks. I have just two clarifying questions. It says written ballot here. I just wanted to get clarity on that we're in a virtual meeting space. So would that be sent electronically, or what was the plan for that? So that's my first question. And my second question is, this language here implies that, and maybe it's just the way I'm reading it, that the nomination, somebody else nominates you. Is there opportunity for self-nomination as well?
Self-nomination is acceptable because I'm just collecting nominations. I'm not saying who anyone can nominate anyone as long as they're a voting board member. And then for the written ballot, I don't think Bob and I talked about that, or did we discuss that with the Attorney General?
I don't think either of us did. And we didn't discuss it within the committee, but I think we would have to figure out how to make it an electronic vote. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. It was something I noticed today as when I read it over again.
I didn't even, me too.
Sounds like a very good.
So one of the things that could be done as a written ballot, written does not exclude email. So it says the board chair plans the election and prepares written ballots. Formal election is held at a board meeting via written ballot. So they could be emailed to me. And then I would tabulate them and announce the results. I think that
Selma, does that take care of the question?
Yes, on both. Thank you.
Okay, Erin, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for writing this out. As a couple of questions I have are just mostly regarding to process and timeline. And I see that there is a chair selected every 3 years. So I'm wondering about when would this process begin, knowing that, say, a term is coming to an end 6 months in advance, a year in advance, if there's any overlap between the chairs at all in terms of a transition, just because, you know, of course, after a few years of serving as chair, I'm guessing there will be some pieces of information that might be helpful after the selection of the following chair, I guess. So I don't know if that needs to be included here, but that's just some things that I'm wondering about. And then if the board has how much time they have to review nominations, or if there's any type of discussion related to the nominations before the election being held via ballot.
Well, I think some of it depends on whether or not there's a chair. So in every 3 years on the new board, because the board is smaller now, people will be coming on and off the board at different times. So I would say we will probably have to revisit that and actually put under we'd probably need to go a year in advance. I would say a year in advance to make sure that there's opportunity. One of the things for the new board, it will have to be fairly quick, because once the new board is appointed and approved by the Senate, we need to quickly nominate and select. The new board needs to quickly nominate and select a board chair. So Bob, as an ex officio member, can step down from that in between responsibility. So I would say that once we announce the chair selection, I would probably give 1 month to collect nominations, have 1 month well, I guess I could submit them to the board by the following month. And then the board can vote. So we could probably do this within 2 months, moving quickly for the first time.
Just to add to that, there is a little bit of urgency because I am stepping down from the board at the end of June as the representative from HAIS. So there does need to be a chair in place, but we can certainly alert that board that they need to take a look at the terming and how it relates to the 3-year term of the board chair, and address that issue. I think we need to call that to their attention. It's a good point, Aaron, because the terms do vary.
And sorry, one more note on that that came up as you were speaking. It just reminded me that there's no note on whether or not somebody can serve for multiple terms. So just a question. I don't have any suggestion or anything, but just something that I think might come up at some point.
Bob, I don't think there's a, as long as they're selected every 3 years, I don't believe that there's a statute of but as long as the person remains a board member. But at some point, they're going to come off. They'd have to get reappointed. So there would probably be some potential lag. Bob, are there extended terms in the, I can't remember in Act 170.
I think it naturally resolves itself because 2 terms is the maximum that a board member can serve. So that it would not, you wouldn't need to add that particular piece because there is a limitation to the amount of time you can be a member, both in terms of the number of years and the number of terms you can serve. I think that's taken care of by this, since none of the terms are more than 3 years in the current structure, in the structure that we're moving to.
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, so Bob, the motion was presented and seconded. I believe discussion is finished. I don't see anything in the chat. I don't see anyone else's hands up. Do you want
All right.
to take a vote?
We will move forward to take a vote. Thank you, Matt. Soma,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Keilani,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Ben,
Aye.
May,
Aye.
Stephanie,
Hi.
Laurie.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. Thank you, Matt, for taking the lead on this, and we have a process to move forward on, so that we anticipate there will be a new chair seated by the end of the June meeting. And the new board will be fully ready to move forward by that point, as things stand at this time. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, so
Matt?
and just one more thing, I just wanted to say, once the Senate confirms all the appointees, I will probably announce the chair selection and set the time frame. So notifications will go out to everyone.
Yeah, we will.
Thanks, Bob.
talk
And
about that toward the end of the meeting, and bring that to the floor. Thank you.
okay, so Keiko is going to take over for me. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, and Keiko is here. So,
Thanks.
Matt, you can go back on Ohio time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. The next item on the agenda is the report of the Executive Office on Early Learning. I'll turn it over to Yuko and her team. Yuko?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Here are some things that we'd like to highlight for April. The first thing is that Jordana hit the ground running in her new position, and we also wanted to thank Mayor Blangiardi for doing a proclamation for the Week of the Young Child, which is actually this week, April 8th through 12th. One other thing to highlight is that April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so there are lots of different ways that we can be involved in preventing child abuse. One of the things I just wanted to ask, if anybody could let me know, and it doesn't have to be now, but maybe later, is that when I was kind of working to drop the pin, put my pinwheel, there was no place designated for Hawaii. So I had to like drop my pinwheel in Chicago, which was the general location. So if anybody knows who the Prevent Child Abuse Hawaii is, it's not an option for a drop-down menu, and I can actually get back to them. One of the other things that I wanted to just highlight real quickly about preventing child abuse is, and this came from just, I guess, a personal experience in a prior position, is that sometimes I was presented with an opportunity to like, let's do a proclamation and have a marching band and McGruff the crime dog and touch a truck and a police vehicle. And while those things are actually good and exciting for drumming up awareness and planting pinwheels, I think the question that I had is, how do we actually really prevent child abuse, and how do we speak to children about these things so that they can actually say something and have a voice to know things that might be going on. And so we worked with a mental health team, and we were also recommended some books that we could purchase. And so what we actually did was look at books that are appropriate for different children's ages and engage parents in saying, could we read, would you let your child participate in the reading and an activity of this book? And of course, it was relevant to each child's age, but that could be something else that we think about as we move to Prevent Child Abuse Month. while doing adult things and outward things are very good too. How do we actually teach children what is appropriate and inappropriate in terms of what might be happening to them so that they have a voice to speak up? So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention too.
I think it's for, from the doctor's point, we have well-child check. So that's another time that we capture, how to interact or when the kids throw tantrum, okay, you have to be calmer. So, how parent and a child can interact so that they're gonna have a more respectful relationship all the way along. And then that is actually discuss safety in the injury prevention. So American Academy of Pediatrics also has a lot of information about that. So you may want to take a look at it too.
Thank you, Mari, for suggesting the American Academy of Pediatrics and some resources that they might have available to our community as well. Thank you. So when you look on the agenda, there's multiple highlights, and so I've woven them into our portion. It may not be exactly like line by line as it's listed in the agenda, but it's woven in places where I found that it would be more appropriate. So Ian can talk about this slide.
So what you're seeing on this slide is the early childhood stipend program data disaggregated by county participation. And you can see the note at the bottom that these numbers that we assign to counties represent the enrollment in the institutions located within the county, but it might not reflect where the students reside. We do have folks who take courses online, virtually, through different campuses. So that's where these numbers come from. The numbers also don't include ECE students at UH Hilo because they're a subset of the PK-12 Hawaiian language medium and Indigenous education program. So we don't have those numbers disaggregated. But you can see there's a column for each term that shows the number of early childhood stipend recipients alongside the total number of enrolled students in ECE programs. And so this just kind of shows the growing participation numbers of the early childhood stipend.
Thank you, Ian. And one other thing to highlight on the top right corner is that the applications for the stipend are due on April 15th for the summer term. So if you're interested in applying or know somebody who might be interested in being a part of the early childhood field, please encourage them to apply for the stipend program, and they could start this summer. So one of the things we wanted to highlight in terms of the roadmap for workforce development and support is that on March 30th, KCAA, right here where we are at, hosted a presentation on the Department of Education's KEA Kindergarten Entry Assessment. And it was presented by Dr. Lauren Podesky of the DOE, and Lane was also here to support. And Dr. Podesky walked people through the KEA, what it's seeking to address, what it achieves. And she was also able to meet participants and help them figure out a little bit more, and they were able to interact and get some questions answered. And so we are also looking at ways to expand this presentation opportunity for other people who may be interested. So if you think that this is of something of interest to you, please reach out to me.
So this is in regards to some of the legislative right now. As part of the legislative process, there is a Senate bill number 2937. And that particular bill sunsets the date for I guess it's an exemption for the laboratory school programs of the UH Hilo Hawaiian Language College from state English medium standards, assessments, performance ratings, staff qualifications, and training requirements. So the bill is continuing to move through the legislative process, and it is in the conference committee section of the process. So the conference will be assigned soon, and then the conference committee will meet on the bill in the next 2 weeks.
Another bill moving forward under workforce development is the DHS Child Care Provider Subsidy and Bonus Program. And again, some highlights of this is a subsidized pay for eligible child care service provision. And that's still moving along. Another piece moving is adjusting our facilities. Again, item number 2, our pre-plus contracts. So the RFPs continue to move forward in the award review process, and the notification will be made. Again, in terms of facilities, there was an update that was provided at the most recent Ready Keiki program. Instead of listing everybody out, I decided to summarize it here. But this is the status of all the 55 sites. So at the biennium, EOEL made a request for 55 new classrooms. And so 16 of those classrooms renovations are already complete. 4 are at the space where we're procuring the furniture. So it's either been purchased, coming, or being installed. There are 4 that are in active construction, 27 that are bidding, and then the review portion, there are 7 classrooms in that space right now. And all are on track to open at the start of this new school year. There may be one that's an outlier at this point in time, just because they became a part of this cohort after some other last minute withdrawals due to increasing enrollment on school campuses. So therefore they could not host an EOEL pre-K. I wanted to highlight that our EOEL application is now online. It just went live at the very beginning of April. And to date, we've had about 40 applications come through online. And so it's really exciting. So because it's new, we're still building it out one piece at a time. And so the goal of the online application is to be what we're kind of call ourselves a single point of entry. So currently on the EOEL application, we take it, but we also refer out to Head Start and refer out to Your Ohana program. And so the little project that I'm trying to do is to see if I can take in that information and port out the information to Head Start and port out to Department of Human Services. And also we're building one-to-one connections with each of the DOE schools. So what will happen as a result of this is that I'm going to be able to see how EOEL can take in applications and port out 3 different main entities, but also subsections of entities. And so we have gotten some feedback from some folks. So one challenge that we have heard is that if you check if you are below 300% of the federal poverty level, there was a built-in error that assumed that you therefore were getting SNAP and TANF, but it's not necessarily the case. So we're working on that correction, but we've also worked with people who've hit that error. So just in case you hear that, just tell them click the SNAP and TANF and we can figure it out in the justification section later. But it should be corrected.
Yeah, can I ask a question? When you apply, is that first come first serve in that particular school?
Yeah, so good question. So when applications come in, whether it's online or paper, they're all time stamped.
Oh.
So there is no priority for online or paper because we're receiving all the paper applications, and I can update you there. But what we're going to do as an office is also put all the paper applications into the online portal. So we have a single point where everything's being collected, and then it's our communication with the school. So one gap area that EOEL is also trying to address is that we've had families apply. They've been accepted. We've said, okay, go and enroll. But when we get enrollment reports, it doesn't quite match the number of children that were approved by EOEL. So we don't know why they didn't enroll or when they decided to not enroll or what that might have been. And so there's 2 things. One of them is we're trying to work on data sharing with the Department of Education so we can have that data in a more timely manner. But another option while we have that running and trying to get it set up is that schools will have an opportunity to review the online applications. They will have an opportunity to show and communicate with us and the family about whether the offer has been made to the family and whether the family accepted, declined, and whether they enrolled, or if the offer has what we call timed out, because after a certain point in time, they will say your offer has expired. So we can offer it to the next person. So that's the goal of what it is. So again, like I said, like it is new. This is the first time we're doing it. So we're going to go through it piece by piece. And so because of that, oh, wait, let me go to this part and then I'll hop back. So because of it, we're changing the way that we do notifications right now for this period, because it's going to help us take in all the online and physical applications and then make notifications about priority, the priority categories and preference to homeschool first. And we'll have a period of notification. And then we can look at priorities that may not be in the homeschool and then look at what kind of seats are left and then see how we can fill those. So we've made it clear on the online application. After family submits, it comes as their pop-up. Thank you for submitting your application. Here's the timeline of notifications. It's also on the paper application and online. And so if anybody wonders about that, you can just go there and read it off. And if people have questions, you can refer them to us.
Question related to that. If indeed you don't have a full complement and you have seats available, will you do additional marketing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. So one thing that's been really great is our community partners and county coordinators who've taken what we call our EOEL banners, and they've been willing to post them in different places around their community. We are still doing the onboarding process for our new schools. So those banners were just recently made. I don't know if everybody received them yet. So a lot of the new schools are kind of trickling in. But we're also going to see about some other schools because not everybody has courier, the inter-office courier system for DOE. And also some people, for some reason, they hang on to them and then they batch it over to EOEL at another point in time. So, but right now it's fine. It's fine because the first notifications are not really going to go through and we're going to input them.
Thank you.
I have one more question. You targeted to open the classroom in certain areas first, right?
Yes.
So, you said the application for the homeschool first.
Yes.
But some application may come from the school that doesn't have the EOE classroom.
Yes.
But is it kind of you're targeting okay, and then not too much is gonna actually outside people?
So what we want to do is give preference to the homeschool first, but it has to come under the priority categories and homeschool and then priority categories. So that point it could be open. We just want to make sure that the schools have an opportunity to serve the families of the students that are eventually guaranteed going to move into their kindergarten classes, because all other children who attend an EOEL pre-K not in their geographic region are not guaranteed enrollment into that kindergarten school. So some people for continuity want to make sure it's in this specific area, but for some families, for other reasons, they have to go closer to whoever can pick up and drop off or where they work or. So I wanted to highlight this applications by island. So one of the things that we've been really looking at is equity and access and trying to ensure that spaces are not necessarily overrepresented. And so the top line indicates the number of schools. Let me just shrink this. Okay, 179. Okay. So right now there are 179 schools in the Department of Education that start from pre-K or K, and then it can go all the way up either to 5th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, 12th grade. But if they start at pre-K or K, I kind of tallied them. And so I counted the amount of schools by island and then tried to see how many of them have a general education early learning opportunity on their campus, whether it's from Head Start or from EOEL. And so on Kauai of schools that start with K something or pre-K something, 55% of them have a general education opportunity. Oahu has 57, Maui 68, Molokai and Lanai at 100, and Hawaii Island at 62. And so one thing that's good is that if you look at schools that start with pre-K or K across each island span, at least 55% or more of them have an opportunity for general education on their school campus. So going through the facilities piece, though, we do know that some schools are maxed out in terms of their space. They cannot open up a room for a gen adoption. And so that would be very limiting factors to even trying to get to 100%. But maybe that can be something that can be looked at eventually. And if some of the measures kind of go through, we can start to look at how can EOEL support other opportunities in communities that may not have spaces on DOE campuses to be able to open up early learning general education opportunities in the vicinity too. So now the bottom portion comes to the applications received by island. So Kauai, we received 33, Oahu 423, Maui 992, 28, 19, and 138. So I don't remember exactly the number, but I know at the end of March it was 500 something, and now we're over 700 paper applications to date. I spoke about this already. Ku'ulei, did you want to talk about this, please?
Hi. Sure. The pre-K team, their professional learning support for this month. We are looking at, talking. The professional learning support for the pre-K team and the classrooms that we serve are in full swing for the month of April. We've done our third induction session for the new opening schools. We will have our final induction session at the end of April. We've had our fourth professional collaboration day, which is administration, partners, and teachers. And then we'll also be having our professional learning community, which is our teacher work group, at the end of April as well. And throughout the month of April, the state office teachers are conducting their class observations, which is the assessment of the interactions in the classroom. And that's the extent of the pre-K team at this point. Although everyone is quite busy, and then checking in with the team as far as the applications and questions regarding applications and different pieces like that.
And I just wanted to say thank you to Ku'ulei and her team. It's a strong and mighty team of 6 that are supporting every single EOEL pre-K that's open right now. So we have 45 classrooms that are open right now, and we are bringing on an additional whole lot. So we're going to end up with 92 classrooms. So trying to split between onboarding the new people, continuing the professional growth of the existing teams, and then also doing class observations for every single classroom. So they're very, very, but I appreciate their efforts and their focus. So this is one thing that I was talking about in terms of facilities. Again, EOEL is trying to see how we can possibly apply our pre-plus contracting portion of our statute to also look at other public available properties, and it's still moving along at this time. I'm going to go to action item number 3, which is funding for the early care and education system. EOEL continues to support FCIL contracts. As you might have remembered, we had identified 4 sites had been made known to us. At the last minute, 2 had to pull out due to enrollment increases on their school campus, so they could not hold it. So we are contracting out for 2 sites, and so it's under review by our Attorney General's office now. Tara?
Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I went with Mikako and Stephanie from our office to the Kike Strong rally, which was part of the Education Week at the Capitol, and just a big mahalo to the organizers, everybody from HCAN. It was fantastic. the advocates rallied in support of quality, affordable early childhood education and care. And then following the rally, they marched around the Capitol building and also spoke with lawmakers. You can go to the next slide. There's just some photos of the event, and definitely was great to see that we had a couple of lawmakers come out for the event and speak, and parents and Keiki, and even some superheroes. So I thought that was fantastic. And again, just really want to thank them for taking the time to organize that and work to invest in our children. And we'd love to see more events like that and get more public awareness of early childhood education.
Thank you, Tara.
So the state supplemental budget is still in the legislative process. If you're interested in the bill number, it's House Bill HB number 1800. It's HD1 SD1. So the Senate version of that bill had passed on April 4, 2004, and it is now in the conference committee process where they're going to resolve the differences between the House and the Senate versions. The HB number 1800 HD1 SD1 continues to include support for all of the classrooms previously approved for the EOL public pre-K expansion in fiscal year 2024 to 2025. And it includes 2 temporary program specialist positions to assist with the work of the PDG P5 Renewal Grant Award. And presently, the House and the Senate versions of the state supplemental budget for EOEL, and that's EDN 700, they are both the same.
Thank you. And another piece that's continuing to move forward is the funding, in terms of funding for the early care and education system, is the Preschool Open Doors, SB 3116, that allows DHS to maximize their enrollment procedures. Another piece is the funding for the Kayapuni education. So while this is not directly EOEL related, EOEL has really appreciated the support of OHE for the Kamehameha seed funded site at Pope Elementary. So we have a agreement and a partnership when we receive seed funding from community-based organizations for public pre-K options. And so OHE has testified that the Kayapuni enrollment has continued to grow. And so they're asking for classroom teachers and educational specialists, and this continues to move along as well.
So these are the legislative updates. So far, just recently, EOEL has submitted 35 pieces of testimony over the last month. For April 11th, it is the crossover date, so that's today, where the bills that have passed and are continuing to move to the session are going to move back to the originating body where the bills came from. And then there's the April 15th, which is the second lateral for the concurrent resolutions. April 19th is the date that the if there are any constitutional amendments, that those have to be passed for filing so that the governor and the constitutional process can continue. April 22nd is the decking of the budget bill itself. So in recent years, they have adjusted the process so that there's a little bit more structure and order. So the budget will be decked or filed for consideration by both houses of the legislature. And at that time, the non-fiscal bills will be April 25 and the fiscal bills. So bills with funding appropriations within them. And then those will be due by April 26th, and the last day of the legislature is Friday, May 3.
Some other system updates, just in terms of health, mental health, and nutrition. If you have not already seen this, the Office of Wellness and Resilience is asking for all members of Hawaii to take this survey. And it's a Hawaii Workplace Wellness and Quality of Life survey. And they're really curious about what is it like to grow, work, live in your communities. And so if you have not had the opportunity to take this survey, we invite you to please take this survey. It will help to inform some of their work moving forward. One of the closer to the last pieces is that EOEL is working has contracted the Islander Institute to help us with dialogue and discussions around EOEL Hawaiian language public pre-K. And so our contract with them will include some pre-engagement, a retreat, some reflective conversations at the end. And we're looking for that retreat to happen sometime in the summer, but we're really looking to try to seek feedback on curriculum, instruction, assessment, professional development, and other things that EOEL should consider with EOEL Hawaiian language public pre-K. So there have been at least 4 sites that have been made known to EOEL that are interested in Hawaiian language public pre-K. One of them was Kamehameha seed funded at Pope that will become a part of EOEL. Another one that recently came up is at Lanai. And then there are 2 others that are out there, but or maybe 3 actually. There's 3 that have kind of been floating out there. One has approached EOEL, but we already have our 44 sites and positions for this school year, so we could not take them on at this point in time, especially not really knowing what's going to happen with the budget at this point in time. I didn't want to make any promises or say yes and overextend ourselves. So I'm really looking forward to this convening that's going to be happening. And the last thing from us is that, again, we're just really interested in learning about your events, the things that you guys are working on, the things that you guys are going to be hosting, opportunities, and of course, any needs that you think that EOEL can support you with. Please contact me and we can have a conversation. And that's the end of our updates.
You clearly have been a little busy. Sorry. Any other questions or comments for Yuko or the staff that has come out that we haven't addressed at this point?
I had a question. This is Ku'ilani. I know previously, Yuko, you had been showing, I guess, more information that was being collected on community providers that were being impacted by opening public pre-K. I recently heard a statistic that we're losing 100 childcare seats a month within the last year. I don't know where that came from, but I did hear it. So I just wanted to open that discussion, and I know we're going through a board transition, so I think making the new members aware of those challenges that were previous issues that continue to be issues. I just wanted to bring that up and ask if you had any additional information on the impacts to community providers.
So I actually just got one. We have been tracking some of the data pieces. So I'm reporting directly on like some of the measures that are in the roadmap. And so I kind of dropped off that portion, but also the way that we were reporting, we were trying to pull some public reports that were available that talked about seats available and seats filled. What was happening though is that it was not posted until like after our board meetings, and so then it was always kind of behind. But we did take a look. We recently got the February, so we know from January to February it held firm. But in terms of what happened before that, I think if the board is interested in the longitudinal month over month, I can bring that to the next meeting.
Okay, and
the one thing that I think that I'm curious about though, when we look at those is that who closed and also who opened, because we have heard that there are sites that are opening. I don't have access to some of that data. I don't have access to exactly where or who is opening and closing. I can see numbers that are fluctuating on public documents, but I actually don't know that. And the one piece that I know that's not collected right now is why. And I know that that was a question of the board, which is why. And so I'm still trying to work on how to figure out how to know exactly who, and then try to figure out why. But I do not have it right now.
okay. And then could I just get, I guess, verbal confirmation that the way in which public pre-K sites are being opened and established and funded currently do not have any consideration for community providers in the area?
Yeah, so so one of the things, so I think I said that exactly. Like, did we go and talk to every single community provider before a public space? Yes, and the answer to that is actually like no. So we did not go and talk to all community providers in the area. What we are looking at is equity and access work. A lot of it has been done by the UH Center on the Family. And if you have an opportunity to take a look at Lieutenant Governor's Ready Keiki map, they pulled in providers from the patch database into the set. And when you take a look at it, for example, somebody had just asked me about Midi-Lunny, for example. Do you think that it's going to be too many? And so when you look at Lieutenant Governor's map, for example, and you just look at Midi-Lunny area, I looked at the amount of 3- and 4-year-olds that are in that geographic region, and then I counted all the seats that are available. And using the LG's computation of maybe 20% want to hold their kids at home, there is still a deficit of over 600 in that one specific region. So these are other data points that we're looking at. So when EOEL takes a look at spaces, so again, the first thing that you actually have to have is a willing partner in terms of EOEL public pre-K. So I'm not talking about EOEL, the system, I'm talking about the public pre-K side. You have to have a willing principal who actually has space, and that's one piece. The other thing is, do they have other programs that are on their campus? We look at how many children are enrolled in kindergarten. Do they have an opportunity for general education participation if they have early childhood special education on their campus? And then also, what is their opportunity and access? How are students performing on what was previously the universal screener? Are they in a comprehensive CSI or TSI designated school? What is their Title I population? So we have like a data sheet that we kind of look towards. And so one example of this is there was a school that wanted to have like this whole floor. They wanted like a whole pre-K section there. But when we took a look at their kindergarten numbers and sped pre-K, we said, like, I can't give you 4. Like, I cannot give you 4 just because numbers wise it doesn't work out. So let's start with 2 and we'll see how that happens and where your families are actually coming in from. And then we can look again, because there are some EOEL public pre-K programs that have high numbers of people applying to them from not in that geographic region. And so we know that there's something about the commute patterns that are going on there. And so those are all pieces that we're looking at. But in terms of, did we talk to every single community provider in the area? No, we are looking to see how many, but we also do know, I'm going to put another thing in there though, that there are some community providers that I would call are off the radar. So there are some pockets in, for example, on Oahu, where it shows a high number of children, but the providers in the area are, they're not within patch. And so trying to factor in that calculation and see what is their capacity and what is their enrollment is something that we're working on right now.
Okay, thank you. And I think, maybe something that would be helpful to identify the reason why sites are closing. I mean, if there's a way to, I guess, limit the amount of information or specify, get to specific questions that would allow that reason to be a little more clear. I think that would be a good thing. And I'm obviously thinking about the Hawaiian medium side. If our teachers and all of our families move to one of those sites, I think it's a pretty clear indication that it is absolutely because a public pre-K was opened 2 doors down, whatever it might be. But for those smaller subsets of these childcare facilities, I think there is a story to tell. And so I want to make sure that we're able to accurately describe what's really happening in the community. And I don't feel like that's happening right now. So I just wanted to raise that to all of us and hopefully it will continue to be discussed moving forward. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Yuka?
Yeah, I have one, Bob, if I may. Just along those lines, and Yuko, I just wonder if we're also collecting community profiles of enrolled students in these new public pre-K classrooms, just to see, kind of what categories they fit into, kind of piggybacking onto what Keilani said. I think it'd be interesting to know like where a lot of the enrollment's kind of coming from. My other question is just to what extent, I guess, as we transition to the new board, is this office going to be collaborating with the early learning coordinators in each county who are playing a more pronounced role in early education? And I think in some way are necessarily going to collaborate with this office. So, how does that affect things? Can we do a better job taking some of Kailani's suggestions, like communicating or using each other as a resource? Just those are some questions that I have as we transition. So thanks for considering.
Thank you, Megan. All right, if there are no others, we'll move to item 6 on the agenda, and I'm going to ask Yuko if she would please introduce our guests who have agreed to join us today to share about the early childhood inclusion statement. Yuko?
Absolutely. Today, I believe we definitely have Verna Chinen, who is the administrator of the Office of Student Support Services Exceptional Support Branch, the special education section. And I'm not sure if she was able to make it or not, but we may have Kau'i Nohea Correa, who is the early childhood education specialist for the Office of Student Support Services Exceptional Service Support Branch Special Education section. And so thank you, Berna, for being here. I appreciate it, and feel free to share.
Thank you, Yuko, and thank you for inviting us. I just wanted to share, and I'm going to drop a link into the chat. And this is an early childhood inclusion statement that we came together. And when I speak of we, it's the Department of Education, it's EOEL, Head Start, Hawaii P20, and the Department of Health. And really, our vision is to address the needs of children with disabilities and really putting the statement out there that we are committed to the inclusion of each and every child with disabilities in all early childhood environments. And the reason we wanted to put it out there is because we have approximately 2,300 children with disabilities who are enrolled in the Hawaii Department of Education special education programs. And what we know is that when children with disabilities have that opportunity to interact and be with their same age peers, good things can happen around learning, around friendships, around just being with children who do not have disabilities. So we wanted to come together and have an inclusion statement with our vision, and the document that I'm sharing with you has listed out the guided principles that all of us agreed to kind of follow. And these are that we are embracing a very united purpose of valuing collaboration, that we want to be strategic in building our partnerships and really having high quality inclusion opportunities for all children. And when I talk about early childhood programs, it's not only EOEL or Head Start. We're also talking about, services to children at their homes or with their babysitters or in their daycare settings. Lots of equitable opportunities for children to be where they're at, and making sure that we're providing appropriate services to children in whatever natural environment they are in. We wanted to partner with our families, making sure that we hear the voice of our families who are the first teachers for our children, and helping with that, building and supporting a competent workforce. So we're just in the beginning stages. We've been together, working together for about a year now, with some support from our national technical assistance providers, in saying, let's come together and let's provide all of these opportunities for our children with disabilities in all of the early childhood environments that they're involved in. So I just wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share, and thank you out to, everybody who's partnered with us in this initiative, because it's better for all children and all families.
Any questions for Berna or comments? I don't see any, Berna, so I think we can thank you for sharing this particular statement and the goals that you're seeking. We hope to keep hearing more about how this is working, and certainly it fits within some of the focus of the work that the Early Learning Board has focused on as well. So mahalo for your endeavors and for leading this initiative.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The next item is one to be an update from the Department of Human Services. Dana Luca and Stacy Tanucci will share a bit about the Child Care and Development Fund final rule changes and the CCDF state plan. Dana, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, so the Department of Human Services is the designated lead agency to administer the Child Care and Development Fund program. We refer to this program as the CCDF program. CCDF is a federal block grant program administered by states, territories, and tribes to provide financial assistance to low-income families to access childcare so they can work or attend a job training or educational program. In addition, CCDF provides opportunities to make investments in quality across childcare programs and to provide consumer education to help parents select childcare that meets their family's needs. CCDF is authorized by the Child Care and Development Block Grant Act and was reauthorized by former President Obama in 2014. This was momentous because it had bipartisan support and it reauthorized the act for the first time since 1996. Provisions to the rule updated regulations to protect the health and safety of children in childcare, helped parents make informed consumer choices and access information to support child development, provide equal access to stable, high-quality childcare for low-income children, and enhance the quality of childcare and the early childhood workforce. So every 3 years, states and territories must submit its 3-year cycle of CCDF plans to the Office of Child Care in order to continue to receive the CCDF funds. So the plan is like our application for the CCDF funds, and it provides the administration for children and families and the public with a description of and insurance about the state's childcare programs. The plan aims to capture the most accurate and up-to-date information about how we are implementing the CCDF program, and therefore serves as a compliance document, a national data collection tool, and a planning resource for working with partners in states and territories to implement the CCDF program and reflect our priorities. The plan is used by Office of Child Care to evaluate our compliance with the recently revised CCDF rule, which updates regulations to help working families afford childcare and broadly support childcare quality and accessibility in communities. So here to talk about the CCDF final rule changes is Stacy Tonouchi. She is the DHS Child Care Subsidy Program Administrator. Stacy?
Thank you, Dana. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to talk about the Child Care and Development Fund, or CCDF, final rule changes to improve childcare access, affordability, and stability. So real briefly, these changes were published last month, March 1st, by the Office of Child Care and becomes effective April 30th, 2024. The final rule amends CCDF regulations 1 to lower families' costs for childcare, 2 to improve CCDF payment practices to childcare providers, and 3 to make family enrollment easier and faster. So for each of the 3 items, I'll report on what is required and what is encouraged by Office of Child Care. So starting with item 1, lower family costs for childcare, which will definitely improve access to childcare for families. What's required is a cap of 7% of family income for co-payments. So this prohibits co-payments above 7% of the family's income. Currently, our department, we have co-payments ranging from 0% to 9% of the family's gross income. So this will need to be an amendment in our Hawaii administrative rules. Another part to this, the next 2 is what's encouraged. So what's encouraged is to increase consumer education by providing current information about sliding fee scales and policies for waiving family co-payments. For our department, the current eligibility tables are posted on our website as well as our childcare portal. I can drop the links in the chat in a bit. Another thing that's encouraged is for us to waive co-payments for priority populations. So these priority populations are eligible families, one with income up to 150% of the federal poverty level. Currently, we're able to waive co-payments for families at or below 100% FPL. The next priority population is families experiencing homelessness. And again, our department, we're able to waive 2 months for families experiencing homelessness. And this is for them to obtain and submit their required eligibility verification. The next population is families with a child with a disability. Going further, families with a child enrolled in Head Start or Early Head Start. And lastly, families with a child in foster or kinship care or receiving protective services. For this group, again, we're able to waive 2 months for families with foster children, and this is so that they can obtain any documentation or required eligibility verification. I'm going to move to the second item, improving payment practices to childcare providers. And this would ensure providers are not negatively impacted. So what's required is paying providers prospectively and 2, using enrollment-based payment. So for both of these items, DHS, we do issue childcare subsidy payments prospectively at the start of the month based on the child's enrollment rather than attendance. Another required item is using grants and contracts to build supply for priority population. So this is childcare for infants and toddlers, children with disabilities, and children in underserved geographic areas. Our department currently does not meet this requirement. We do intend to work on developing contracts. And what we've done is we've consulted with our federal advisors on examples and best practices for successful implementation through contracting and in hopes to improve our payment practices to childcare providers. And then for this part, what's encouraged is that lead agencies or the state pay providers the full CCDF reimbursement amount, even if that amount is greater than the price the provider charges parents who do not receive a subsidy. So this is something that we need to look at because currently our policies take into account the lower of the two amounts. So that's where the department's maximum established rate is compared to the amount charged by the parent, charged to the parent, excuse me. And lastly, I'll talk about making family enrollment easier and faster. So we all know childcare is essential for parents to work, go to school, or to get training, but a lengthy enrollment process can disrupt parents' plans to lead and oftentimes lead to missed opportunities. So on this item, the final rule, one, it encourages faster eligibility. So for the state to look at considering child presumptive eligibility for subsidy prior to full documentation and verification. So previously I mentioned our two populations are families with foster children and our families experiencing homelessness. So again, for these two groups, we do waive at least the 2 months there. The second way is to simplify verification by encouraging the state to use a family enrollment and other public benefit programs, or to use documents from those other benefit programs to verify eligibility for CCDF. So with this, we call it categorical eligibility, and it's something that we are looking into, but it'll take some work for us to get there. The third item, just in general, to minimize disruption to families. So this would require states to implement eligibility policies and procedures to minimize disruption to parent employment, education, or training opportunities. The next item clarifies eligibility for additional siblings. So this is something that has been in the rule, but it required a little more clarification. So with the addition of a new sibling, the minimum 12-month eligibility requirement applies when the new child is added to the family who has already been participating in our program. And it's encouraging the state to align the two eligibility periods to the newly added child. So a little confusing. So it's allowing redeterminations to occur at the same time, and that would limit the burden on the family as well as the department, right? So trying to mesh it together. And lastly, encouraging online applications So happy to report we do have an online application, and we started this last year in September 2023. So we are plugging away with those as well as our paper application. So with these changes, Office of Child Care has spoke of temporary waivers. So states that are not in compliance with provisions of this final rule as of April 30th may request a temporary waiver for an extension up to 2 years to come into compliance. So thankfully, Office of Child Care recognized that at the time of their publication of this final rule, our department or the states and lead agencies are in the process of completing our 2025 to 2027 CCDF plan, which will be due on July 1st. So our department, we fully intend to seek a waiver as we will need to revise our policies and prepare for our IT system enhancements just to come into compliance. And 4 months from now to July 1st, that would be very ambitious. So we'll ask for the waiver there. And with the waiver, I think the areas that we'll need help on is not help on, but to ask for an extension is the co-payments capped at 7%, and the part about using grants and contracts for priority populations. With that, I'll turn it back to Dana. Thank you.
Okay, so in addition to those rule changes, they also provided some clarity, and the clarifications address the definition of major renovation. It clarifies consumer education requirement to post full monitoring reports, which is something that we are working on. Clarifies consumer education requirement to post aggregate data. So it's posting clearer data on serious injuries and fatalities in childcare settings by including the total number of children in care for each year. And that is something that we're also working on. It clarifies background check eligibility determinations, disqualifying crimes, results on background checks, and then it clarifies provisional hire. So our fiscal year 2025 to 2027 state plan is being drafted, and will be routed up to our director's office. And upon approval, we will be posting it to our DHS website. We'll be hosting a public hearing on Friday, May 31st, virtually via Microsoft Teams. And this is when persons may present live video or oral testimony on the plan. We will publish information about the hearing in newspapers statewide by May 1st and on the DHS website. And we'll remind everyone of the hearing through venues like this one and at our quarterly Child Care Advisory Committee meeting. Written testimony will be accepted up until 4:30 p.m. on May 31st via email or US mail. And that's all we have.
Okay, will you folks take any questions if people have questions? Okay.
Sure.
Members, are there any questions?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Hi, Dana. Thanks, Stacy and Dana, for the information. I just want a clarification for the waivers. That would only be for the required items or also for the encouraged items? I know there's two buckets, right? Like the things that's required and the things that are encouraged. Is the waiver for all of them or just for the ones that we not able to do that's required.
Yeah, our understanding is it's just for the ones that are required.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Anyone have any other questions? Or comments, obviously, we can have those. And I don't see anything in the chat, so thank you, Dana and
Thank
Stacy,
you.
for sharing with us the little updates.
Thank you.
Hopefully, this is going to make a difference in families, addressing families' needs more broadly. And certainly the limitation of the 7% is something we've all been hoping for some time. So that's exciting to see. Thank you both. We have, as we have been doing in regular meetings, a Maui early childhood status update. I don't see Kaina on this call, but if anyone else has any updates about Maui, this would be a time to share them. We would open that up to public members as well. Yeah, I see nothing in the chat, so I will assume that no one has any updates at this point. We will move to the second opportunity for public comment with a reminder that there is a time limit and a focus on agenda items. Is there any public comment at this point? Seeing nothing in the chat, we will move to the member updates. No member updates either. All right, then we'll move to the last portion of the meeting. The chair wishes to provide some updates for you on where things are headed for the board's future at this point. As we've heard already, Stephanie and Selma had their advice and consent hearings on April 3rd. Both were recommended for confirmation by the Senate. And then yesterday, another advice and consent hearing was held, and the following members were recommended for confirmation by the Senate. Joni Onishi, who will be a representative of the County of Hawaii. Elaine Yamashita, who will be representative of the County of Maui. Alana Bowman, the County of Kauai. Dr. Lindsay Heathcock, who will be a representative of the City and County of Honolulu. Kawi Burgess, who will be an at-large member. Cheryl Kudimont will also be an at-large member. And the third at-large member, the name was withdrawn and was not submitted for approval. So given that the new board assumes its full responsibilities once confirmed by the Senate, the assumption is, given the Senate, the legislature session ends on May 3rd, that prior to our May meeting, the new board will have been seated, if you will, for lack of a better term. And once that happens, that confirmation occurs, the terms of all current voting members cease, and we no longer occupy our de facto status as we have been. So the assumption is that the May meeting will be a new board, and all of you who have been serving at this time terms will have officially ended by that time. I'm glad we've had this one final meeting together to give me an opportunity to mahalo all of you for your time, your energy, your expertise, the devotion and commitment you've given to supporting the EOEL and its efforts, and even more importantly, representing the constituent groups whose voices you have brought to the table of our conversations over these years. Some of you have been with us a full 6 years, some of you a shorter time. We appreciate your participation on the committees. Moving forward to create our roadmap was quite a challenge, but we met that challenge during that time. We also are seeing something that I recall thinking would never happen, and that's the expansion of public support and access to quality experiences with an emphasis on equity and meeting the needs of all children throughout our state. Having begun with the task force in 2006 and the presentation to the legislature following that, a proposal for expansion to 80% of all 4-year-olds, and watching the surprise on the faces of legislators when the amount was listed, I did wonder, would we ever get to that place where expansion would occur? We have reached that place, and it's exciting, and it's through the hard work of many of you. At the same time, we recognize the critical importance of continuation of the offerings of the private sector, not only because of the choice and the quality they provide, but because they are a necessity for us to meet the goals that have been set for 2032, if we're really going to hit those numbers. So continuing to look at how we can be supportive of the private sectors, I hope will remain a priority for all of us, whether we continue on the board or not. As I mentioned earlier, I will continue on the board through the June meeting, when we will select a new chair. At that point, I will step away. I am very delighted to be able to thank all of you for your friendship, your role as colleagues. And after close to 20 years, I'm definitely ready to let someone else take the lead of the Early Learning Board. It's been an honor and a privilege on my part to work with all of you. I hope we will maintain contact in the future. And I know all of you will remain committed to Hawaii's keiki and their families, and appreciate the incredible work that you all do as we approach a new beginning and a new board with a slightly different emphasis, who can look perhaps more broadly across the state to best meet the needs of all our children. And so I want to close out this meeting by sharing the outcomes that I picked, and I really only selected 2 out of this meeting. One, we have a chair selection process, which was approved and will be introduced to the new board at the next meeting and hopefully concluded or utilized, implemented at the following meeting. And the other outcome, besides all the information we gained today, was an urging by 2 of our members to EOEL to continue to look at the impact of the expansion, at least as I interpreted it, to continue to look at the impact of what is happening to all sectors, and the private sector in particular, and to dig a little deeper, if possible, into the reasons for what is currently happening when preschools are closing, to see if we can't get a better handle of how we can be more supportive in the long term, so that we do not lose providers, and we do not lose seats, and that we can encourage our community to grow. Some big challenges ahead. Workforce is a big one, and workforce will be on our agenda at the next meeting. Terry Locke will be joining us to share with you some of the follow-up that work that she has been doing, and to share with you where things stand now and some of the initiatives that are being considered for the future. We will keep all of you on our mailing list unless you request to be taken off our meeting list. I hope that does not happen. You continue to subscribe. And I close with Carrie's quotation for the day, which seems appropriate given the situation we're in right now. It's a quotation from Kristen Armstrong, who's a former 3-time gold medalist and professional cyclist. When the seasons shift, even the subtle beginning, the scent of a promised change, I feel something stir inside me. Hopefulness, gratitude, openness, whatever it is, it's welcome. So mahalo to all of you for your service, a term I hate to use, but I guess that's what it all is. But for the time and wisdom you have volunteered to support the Early Learning Board and its work with the Executive Office on Early Learning. Aloha. The meeting is adjourned.
Mahalo, Bob, for your leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you.